My brother and my sister are both gay. My dad was counting on me to carry on the family name, and I did bring a spouse home, a husband. My dad was about to beat me to death, but then he saw my husband's slightly rounded belly and lowered his dragon head cane. Huh, that's fake, right? The family doctor said. It's real, he's intersex. The old man gave my husband a chilling smile. Come, take the seat of honor. Tusk, Tusk, what a two-faced hypocrite. Chapter 1. My brother and my sister are both gay. The old man in my family had laid down the law. Only the one who could give him a grandchild would inherit the family fortune. Otherwise, he'd donate it all rather than let a bunch of damn gays spend it. That statement was clearly aimed at me. My brother and sister had already started their own successful businesses, achieved financial freedom, and broken free from the family's control. There was only mate. Years ago, I tried to follow their example and get into investing, but I lost everything. Ever since then, I've been under my dad's strictest economic sanctions. If I wanted money, I had to go find a girlfriend. Depressed, I went to my brother and sister to cry about it. My brother Leo said, "The biggest mistake a rich kid can make is trying to start their own business." I asked, "Aren't you a rich kid too?" My sister Harriet chimed in, "That depends on whether you have a brain. You'd be better off just obediently producing a grandchild for the old man." At the time, I was only a freshman in high school. As long as I could carry on the family line, he wouldn't even care if I dated early. They looked down on me. I was determined to prove them all wrong in my senior year. I scored an 8 on my math test. My sister asked, "Did you take the test with your feet?" I could probably get a 9 with my eyes closed. So harsh. I really did try to study. They just nodded their suspicions that I was a dimwit growing stronger. I said, "Why don't you just let me study abroad? I need to get a college degree somehow, and it's not like our family is short on money." The moment I mentioned it, the old man nearly had a heart attack. "Isn't that where they have all that LGBT stuff? Where men are women and women are men, and even plastic bags need their own gender category." My brother had met my brother-in-law Julian while studying abroad. He accused me of having ulterior motives. Weren't there enough gays in the family already? He hired 8 tutors to drill me, dead set on getting me into a local university. A little late for that, wasn't it? Still, I managed to scrape by and got into a second-tier local university. Compared to the top-tier institutions my brother and sister attended, I was a bit bummed out. But the moment I saw my roommate, I suddenly thought, this was the right choice. Crap, I'm gay too. Chapter 2. His name was Eden Fisher, as beautiful as a painting, just like his name suggested. He was the kind of person you couldn't help but stare at. During one class, I was so busy looking at him that I didn't hear a single word the professor said. As a result, the professor told my family that I wasn't paying attention in class, just staring at one spot, grinning like an idiot and drooling. Why was this professor tattling on me? Fortunately, my family didn't suspect I was gay. It just reinforced their impression that I was a dimwit. Actually, when I started school, the old man had already spoken to the dean. He said he didn't care what I learned, as long as I came back with a girlfriend. Looks like I'd have to be more careful from now on. I couldn't let them find out I was gay. What if they made me drop out and kept me from seeing my roommate? So I started writing love letters to a few pretty girls in my class. 2 of them actually started responding to my advances. But they were roommates. When they compared notes that night, they realized something was off. Together, they scratched my face to ribbons. The matter got to the student advisor, who notified my parents. The old man was rather pleased. "Thank God my son's not gay." The advisor fell silent, probably thinking my condition was hereditary. Little did they know, my plan had succeeded. The old man told me to be bold in pursuing girls I liked in the future, but to stick to just one. He then imparted his wisdom on how to win a wife. Money, lots of money. I held out my hands, a lazy grin on my face. "Give me the money, then." The old man wasn't annoyed by my flippant attitude at all. His eyes were filled with the joyous anticipation of a future daughter-in-law as he waved his hand and transferred $5 million to me. I looked at the balance on the card and nodded with satisfaction. I wonder if the old man will ask for it back when he finds out the truth. Chapter 3. After starting university, most students were busy liberating their souls from the pressures of high school and entrance exams. Few paid serious attention in class, but my husband was one of those very few. He always sat in the front row, his neat notebook gradually filling with elegant script as he followed the professor's lecture. After class, he'd go to his part-time job at the milk tea shop next to the campus. In his rare free moments, he'd crouch in the corner of our dorm building, feeding the stray calico cat that was missing an ear. His long, slender, pale fingers would gently stroke through the fluffy orange and white fur, studious and proud. And his hands were gorgeous. There was just one problem. He thought the straight guy persona I'd painstakingly crafted to pursue him was a symptom of mental illness. He was so afraid I'd have an episode and hurt someone that he even asked our advisor to switch dorm rooms. The advisor told him that, based on his observations, I didn't seem to have any violent tendencies, so it was best not to switch rooms for now. After all, my dad had donated $20 million to renovate the school's athletic field because I was studying here. You can't just take someone's money and then turn around and say their son is mentally ill. It's just not polite. That was a close call. I almost got kicked out of the dorm by my own husband. I had to hurry up and get on his good side. He was sitting at his desk, memorizing vocabulary. I tried to make small talk. Did your parents name you Eden because of the story from the Bible? His hand, which had been writing, paused. His lashes fluttered, and he slowly turned his amber eyes to fix on me. My name is none of your business. If my presence bothers you, Your Highness, you can easily have me moved to another dorm, can't you? My heart clenched. I was just asking about his name. I didn't mean any harm. My roommate Mike shot me a look and pulled me out into the hallway. He quietly told me that my husband was an orphan and that it was best not to mention his parents in front of him, as it would upset him. On move-in day, parents were allowed to help students carry their luggage to the dorms and get everything settled. Every bunk was surrounded by 3 or 5 people, a chaotic and noisy scene. Only Eden sat alone on the edge of his bed, quietly watching the bustling crowd, a picture of cold solitude. Mike's mom, bless her heart, blurted out, "Hey man, where are your parents?" Eden gave her the same hostile look. "They're dead." His mom felt guilty for a long time afterward and kept telling Mike to look out for my husband at school. Since then, their relationship had become the closest in our dorm. I glanced down at Mike. He had fluffy, curly hair and was about half a head shorter than me, maybe around 5'11". He wasn't exceptionally handsome, but his features were regular and well-proportioned, a decent-looking guy. Was this a rival? The words flew out of my mouth. Are you into guys or girls? He stared at me blankly for a moment, then clutched his chest defensively. Girls obviously don't think you can do whatever you want just because your family has money. I'm not the kind of person who sells his dignity for cash. Psycho. Chapter 4. I was running out of good ideas to get closer to my husband. Desperate, I had to call for outside help. And my brother Leo, a seasoned gay man, was the best person to ask. I dialed his number, but the first thing he said was, "Don't you dare date a man. The Preston family is counting on you to carry on the line." "Why?" I protested. "Because I'm your older brother. Focus on your studies and stay out of trouble, or you'll have me to answer to." I'm 15 years younger than Leo. When he and Julian were dating, I was still little and curious about how a man could love another man. He just said that true love knows no gender and that I'd understand when I grew up. Now that I was grown up, he seemed to have forgotten how much our father had tormented him. I hung up and called my brother-in-law. "Julian, Leo's bullying me." As a kid, I didn't understand what true love was. I was just curious why my usually cold brother would pursue Julian. He couldn't stand my pestering and told me that it was Julian who fell for him at first sight, chasing him relentlessly, even shielding him without hesitation during a mugging abroad. So it was Julian who pursued my brother. But I was even more curious about what kind of person would fall for a big jerk like my brother, who was always bullying me. Then I met Julian. He was under 6 feet, with delicate features and a gentle way of speaking. Right then, I decided my brother was a real piece of work, a man over 6'3", getting mugged, and letting someone smaller and thinner than him take the hit. I was instantly filled with a sense of guilt towards Julian. So, when the old man deliberately left Julian standing at the door, I scurried over to give him a pair of slippers. When the old man intentionally didn't have the staff set a place for him, I had already placed a bowl and chopsticks by Julian's hand. When the old man was making snide remarks at him, I looked at my hesitant brother and slammed my hand on the table. "Are you just going to stand there while he talks trash about the man who saved your life?" And so, the old man directed all his fury at me. He broke 2 bamboo canes on me. Clutching my backside, which felt like it was in 8 pieces, I told Julian, "Don't be scared. My mom made him promise on her deathbed to take good care of me, so he won't dare kill me. From now on, I've got your back in this house." As a young boy, I didn't understand the complexities of the adult world. I just felt it was what I had to do. My dad locked me in my room and specifically ordered that I wasn't allowed to watch any more of those action-packed anime shows. Later, Leo decided to give up everything for the family to be with Julian, but he still came home for holidays, and I was always the first one to greet them at the door. Our family members are cold people, all busy with their careers. Julian was busy too, but he always made time to be with me. He would hold my hand and smile gently. "You've got my back, so I'll take care of you." It's only fair. Julian was the one who attended most of my parent-teacher conferences. Slowly, I learned the truth. It wasn't Julian who pursued Leo relentlessly. It was Leo who fell for Julian at first sight and turned a straight man gay. And that accident, it was Leo who took a knife for Julian, which finally convinced Julian to be with him. He was just trying to act cool in front of me. Behind the scenes, he was an utterly doting husband. I thought Leo would understand me better than anyone, that I could even follow his path to win over my husband. "But now, don't blame your brother," Julian said softly. "He just wants you to have a normal family and live a happy life. Will having a child with someone I don't love make me happy?" Julian was silent for a moment, then chuckled. "How is it that our little fool is always so clear-headed when it counts?" Julian said that everyone in our family was actually the same. Stubborn, extreme, and once we set a goal, we never give up. The more obstacles, the more determined we become. He didn't try to dissuade me, only warned me. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. You can't resort to extreme measures just because the boy you like is cold to you, understand. He wasn't against me pursuing Eden. He even helped me strategize. He was just worried that I would be as extreme as my sister, Harriet, who had trapped Serena Vance by her side, regardless of the consequences. It had been a nasty affair. Even today, Serena often looked at Harriet with eyes full of resentment. Harriet once said, "Hate, love, I don't care. I just need her by my side." Did she really not care? Then what was she thinking at night, sitting in the courtyard, chain smoking, her eyes bloodshot but refusing to sleep? The Bible says, "Love is patient, love is kind." Even without Julian's reminder, I could continue to be patient. I wanted the person I loved to be happy. Chapter 5. Julian suggested I start by learning about my husband's hobbies and interests. The person in our dorm closest to my husband was Mike, but Mike was a psycho. When I asked him to help me find out what my husband liked, he said, "I'm straight. Even if you try your best to get close to my friend, I won't fall for you. Don't waste your energy." With no other choice, I resorted to stalking my husband during the school's club recruitment fair. The clubs were all promoting themselves in the activities building. The moment I walked in, 3 or 4 upperclassmen girls surrounded me, pitching their clubs. I wasn't interested at all. The only good club was the one my husband joined. There were a lot of people at the event today. After finally pushing through the crowd, I realized my husband was gone. When I found him, he was standing in front of the photography club's poster. A man holding a camera was talking to him. The guy was tall and thin, with shoulder-length hair that gave him an artistic vibe. He casually flashed the Leica camera in his hand, talking about composition and color, showing off his past work. His gaze was sticky, hot, and unsettling. I knew exactly what he was doing. He liked my husband. He was fanning his big peacock tail, performing a mating dance. When I started school, my dad had told me to keep a low profile. But the moment I saw my husband, I threw my dad's advice out the window. Only one thought filled my mind: show off, show him my best side. My dad is Arthur Preston. You can look him up on Wikipedia. And then my husband rolled his crystal clear eyes at me and hadn't given me a pleasant look since. But now, faced with this guy's showing off, my husband just tilted his head and listened intently. "Hey, would you consider joining my club, or maybe being my model?" The desire in that guy's eyes was so intense it looked like he wanted to devour my husband on the spot. I can be a model, of course he could. While my husband wasn't super tall, his proportions were perfect. Flawless skin on top of superior bone structure, he was perfection. I had no idea how many secret pictures I'd taken of him on my phone. It was just that he didn't seem to care about his appearance. He got his hair cut at the $10 quick cut place by the school gate, a short buzz cut that made him look even younger than he was. He only had 2 sets of clothes to rotate. The oversized t-shirt he was wearing today had a collar that was stretched out from washing, a diamond in the rough. Of course, the man opened his photo album and held it up to my husband. "I took a picture of you just now when you were standing over there. You're very photogenic." The man used the excuse of showing my husband the photo to get extremely close to him. My husband was looking at the camera, but the man was staring intently at my husband. I was getting angry. What excuse could I find to pick a fight with him? I pondered. Luckily, my husband turned him down. No, thanks. I promised my roommate I'd go to the basketball club. Basketball club? Great, I'm good at that. I could finally shine in front of my husband, but that psycho Mike had to pop up again. Ryan, even if you join the same club as me, I'm not going to like you. I am not gay. I was only joining the basketball club for my husband. What the hell was he spouting in front of him now? I looked at my husband, feeling wronged, hoping he wouldn't believe Mike's crazy talk. My husband just glanced at me coolly, then turned away to practice dribbling, completely unconcerned. I felt even worse. Since we were new to the club, the captain organized a tryout match to see what level we freshmen were at. My husband had no basketball experience and sat on the sidelines as a spectator. I made sure to join the team playing against Mike. I was going to crush him. For my husband to see, when Mike had the ball, I guarded him relentlessly. When Mike was on defense, I broke through his line again and again. After a slam dunk, I even hung on the rim, looking down at Mike, who I had just knocked to the ground. I'm so cool, right? My husband must see me now, right? I landed, turned around, and sure enough, my husband was watching us with bright eyes, his hands resting obediently on his knees. Paired with his short hair, he looked like an elementary school student listening intently in class. So cute. I raised my right hand to him, signaling victory. The whistle blew, a charging foul. The victorious hand I had just raised became a hand raised to signal the foul. Embarrassed myself in front of my husband again. Still, it didn't change the fact that I was the strongest rookie among all the freshmen. The upperclassmen crowded around me, praising, "You can be a starter in this year's University Basketball League." I didn't care about being a starter. I just wanted to hear praise from my husband. I ran over to him in a few quick strides. "How did I do?" "You're really good." My husband was still sitting there, looking up at me, not stingy with his praise. From this angle, his eyes looked even bigger, his face even smaller. With his snowy white skin, he looked like a cute little rabbit. The basketball in my arms seemed to be stunned too. It slipped from my grasp, bounced on the floor, and landed right in my husband's lap. I froze for a moment. Just as I was about to reach for it, that psycho Mike jumped out again. "Ryan, you were targeting me on purpose out there, weren't you?" Oh, he noticed. Damn right I was. Have you watched too many teen dramas? Do you think these childish tricks will get my attention? I'm not falling for it. He grabbed his clothes, turned, and left, not even giving me a chance to argue. I squeezed the water bottle in my hand until it crinkled and quickly explained to my husband, I wasn't. I'm not into him like that. Seeing my predicament, my husband actually laughed. I know. It was the first time he had ever smiled at me. Was he falling for me too? I grinned broadly. Then do you know who I like? As soon as the words were out, he looked down, his eyes dropping, and then his expression became cold and distant again. I don't know. My husband picked up the half-finished water bottle beside him and went to join the team lineup. He totally knew. All I could do was silently follow behind him, just like all the times before. I was so envious. How could Mike so naturally sling an arm around my husband's shoulders, while I had to think for ages just to say a single word to him? He could even pat my husband on the head to praise him after a good shot. I clenched my jaw, resentfully running a hand through my own hair. Ever since I found out my husband went to that $10 quick-cut place, I'd been getting the same haircut as him. The stiff bristles of my hair scratched my palm. I thought it would soothe the itch, but it only made it worse. Why doesn't he like me? Patience felt like an incredibly difficult thing. Chapter 6. Mike's grandmother passed away, so he took a leave of absence to go home for the funeral and wouldn't be back for a couple of days. Our other roommate went to a LAN party with friends. Tonight, it was just me and Eden in the dorm room. I rubbed my hands together, a little nervous, but also secretly looking forward to our time alone. The minutes ticked by. It was almost curfew, and my husband still wasn't back. I looked out the window worriedly. The light drizzle was starting to turn into a heavier rain. I called him 3 or 4 times, but no one answered. I had no idea where he was. I grabbed an umbrella and was about to go look for him. Just as I reached the dorm room door, I saw him with that guy from the photography club. In the falling rain, they were huddled under a small umbrella. The guy had one hand holding the umbrella and the other wrapped around my husband's shoulder, seemingly just to keep him from getting wet. A vein throbbed in my forehead. I rushed out in an instant. I shoved him away. Who the hell let you touch him? We were about the same height, but I had been playing basketball and working out for years. Compared to his slender limbs, my bulging muscles were prominent. I was the clear victor, but our referee was biased. He sided with the coward who grabbed the umbrella and fled. He pulled back the arm I was about to swing and said to the guy, "You go back first. I'll call you when I've thought it over." Why, how am I not as good as him? Looks, family background, what is it? Is it just because he's better at taking pictures? He dragged me back to the dorm by my arm. The moment he shut the door, I couldn't help but scream. He had his back to me, organizing his rain-soaked backpack, completely ignoring my emotional breakdown. "Aren't you going to explain?" He sat down, looked at me, his expression flat. "Do I need to explain myself to you?" Right. Technically, I was just his ordinary roommate. He didn't need to explain anything to me, but that's not how it worked. Hate, love, I don't care. I just need him by my side. I seemed to understand my sister's words. I reached up and locked the door. "Give me an explanation." I pushed him down onto the bed, pinning his chin to make him look at me. He rarely smiled and was even a bit cold, not just to me, but to everyone except Mike. At first, I thought Mike was a rival, a competitor, the one he liked. After careful observation, I realized it wasn't love, it was envy. When Mike was video chatting with his family, Eden would casually sit beside him. Whenever the camera accidentally panned to him, he would pretend to casually respond to Mike's mom's warmth. There wasn't much to say, just asking how his studies were going, if he was eating well, if his part-time job was too tiring. A person who didn't talk much would, at this moment, answer in great detail. It seemed he was imagining a mother's love for him, strong yet fragile, growing up all alone, pathetically trying to get a sliver of familial love from someone else's mother. It was heart-wrenching to interrupt. All I could do was try to ask, "You know, I can give you a lot of love too. Do you want to give it a try?" He had a hard life. The faded clothes, the cracked but unreplaced phone screen, and the part-time job he had to rush to after class, all signs of his poverty. But when I left the latest model phone on his bedside table, he held it up in front of everyone. "Don't put your things on my bed. People might think I stole it." I quickly explained, "I got one for everyone. You were at your job and hadn't come back, so I thought I'd leave it on your bed as a surprise." "Just keep it, don't feel burdened." Compared to the casual hand-offs to the others, his was the only one I had written a note for and tied a pretty bow on the box. "I don't need it." I didn't dare pursue him openly, only testing the waters carefully, again and again. He said, "I like girls." One sentence plunged me into despair, making me afraid to make any move that might disgust him. Teaching him basketball, attending classes with him, secretly watching his back as I walked behind him, this was my patient endurance in love. I thought it was because I was a guy that it couldn't happen. So what about now? He could walk with that guy, but not with me. What was my patience for? A joke. I kissed him almost savagely. The beautiful wrist bones I had never dared to touch were now clasped in my hand. The cherry red lips I had dreamt of day and night were now caught between my teeth. Like a wild dog that hadn't eaten in days, I bit and gnawed almost frantically. Hate, love, I don't care. I just need him by my side. In a moment of breathlessness, I saw tears stream from his eyes, turning them bloodshot. He overlapped with a memory, a figure sitting in a transparent glass house, smiling at me. Beneath the vibrant clusters of flowers was the bright red blood flowing from his slit wrists, making it hard to tell if the flowers were redder or the blood. It felt like a giant hand was squeezing my heart. I suddenly understood. I cared. I was afraid he would hate me. Even more afraid that he would retaliate in the most extreme way. I was afraid he would do the same thing Serena did. I'm sorry. Before I could do anything worse, I fled the dorm room as if escaping. Chapter 7. How many more days are you going to crash here? My sister, Harriet, asked impatiently. Julian and Leo were on vacation abroad, and I didn't want to disturb their time together. More than talking to my sister, I wanted to talk to Serena, to understand what she really felt about Harriet. No, her mood has been unstable lately. Harriet exhaled a puff of smoke and tossed a file at me. Show this to Eden. He'll naturally stay far away from that Chadwick Morrison. I flipped through the file, unable to hold back a disgusted curse. This Chadwick guy's family was in the jewelry business. He was wealthy and had been forming cliques and bullying ordinary, honest students since he was a kid. And his beloved photography was just a byproduct of his disgusting hobbies. His favorite subjects were lewd piles of flesh and shrill screams. During his high school years, a girl from their bullied group had committed suicide, unable to bear the shame after an obscene video he filmed of her was leaked. So when he said he wanted to photograph Eden, his intentions were crystal clear. I shot up, terrified that if I was a second too late, Eden would have already fallen into his trap. Harriet stopped me. "Do you know what it means to be in a relationship with that boy?" "I know. Being with him means I'll give up my inheritance and become a penniless nobody. I don't have my brother and sister's abilities, which means I'll have to work hard for a meager salary. But that's the life I want to choose. Like Mike's parents, simple but very happy. With Iden. With the person I fell for at first sight." Harriet looked at me, seemingly lost in thought, before stubbing out her half-smoked cigarette in the ashtray. "As long as you think it'll make you happy." She said nothing more. Chapter 8. When I returned to the dorm with the file, Eden was packing his bags. "Where are you going?" Eden looked up at me, seeming a bit surprised to see me. "Why are you back?" 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind. Was he still mad at me? Was he moving out because he didn't want to live with me anymore? Was he going to live alone or with Chadwick? "I'm planning to drop out," he said suddenly, pointing to my bedside table. "I know you've always looked out for me. I didn't think you'd be back, so I left a gift on your bed. I hope you don't mind." It was a rabbit doll Snowball from The Secret Life of Pets, seemingly cute, but actually a grumpy, tough-as-nails bunny, a lot like Eden. Harmless on the surface, but with a hidden temper. I didn't dare mock my husband to his face, so I just mumbled that Snowball was a really mean rabbit. "I always hear you talking about him, so I thought you'd like him. I bought it for you." My husband didn't understand my little quirks. He just looked at me with his big, innocent eyes. This rare moment of kindness was being spent on a farewell. I clutched the rabbit, refusing to let go, and grabbed his hand, also refusing to let go. I needed to know why he was leaving. It was raining yesterday, and I accidentally scratched someone's car parked on the side of the road. "The repairs will cost at least $200,000. I can't afford it." His voice was soft as he recounted an event that could change the course of his life so matter-of-factly. "The owner wouldn't let me go, but Chadwick, the upperclassman, stepped in to help. He said he could pay the money for me, but what? But I have to date him and be his nude model." My husband finished packing his few belongings. Honestly, I was tempted, but then I thought, if I really became his nude model, I probably couldn't stay at this school anymore. "It's better to just drop out and work to keep some dignity." "I'll pay the money for you," I said firmly. I placed the file in front of him. "He's not a good person. I can help you pay it back. What do you want in exchange?" He paused his packing and looked straight at me. His gaze was chilling. The words, "I want to be your boyfriend," were on the tip of my tongue, but they came out as, "to be your best friend." Chapter 9. Eden no longer refused my kindness. He would wear the clothes I bought him, use the phone I got for him, and his cafeteria tray was no longer just a sad pile of shredded potatoes, a hard-boiled egg, and a bowl of free seaweed soup. I naturally took over all his living expenses. He would often thank me with his eyes lowered, and in return, he would help me organize my notes and explain the concepts I had missed in class because I was too busy staring at him. That idiot Mike finally figured it out. "So the person you like is Eden. Why didn't you say so earlier? You scared the hell out of me." "Don't talk nonsense. We're just good friends," I said sternly, worried that the news of me liking a guy would get back to the old man. Eden lowered his gaze, his long, slender fingers curling slightly, clutching the hem of his shirt. "Let's go. We have a class dinner today. We don't want to be late." His voice held a hint of disappointment I couldn't place. As if in a sulk, he didn't say a word to me the whole way there. I gently nudged his waist with my elbow. He didn't respond, as if he hadn't felt a thing. He even deliberately sat across from me before the meal started. For this gathering, the class president had specifically found a round table that could seat 30 people. He was proudly showing off how great this large private room he'd found was, but I just wanted to shut his blabbering mouth. Why find such a big room? With everyone watching, it was hard for me to even cross the crowd to sit next to my husband. I had been taking good care of my husband. His buzz cut had grown out and was now styled into fluffy curls. He wore a light blue shirt under a loose white sweater, looking like a prince from an anime. With just a little effort, he was prettier than any of the girls in our class, devastatingly innocent. This transformation was hard for others to ignore. Lately, I had been fending off both men and women, simultaneously regretting making my husband look too good and too attractive, while also feeling that he was born to have the best of everything and look beautiful. As I was stewing in my frustration, the girl sitting next to my husband reached out and pinched his cheek. Eden, you're so cute. Wow, you're so adorable. I can't help but want you to be my wife. What do you think? This girl was always calling this person or that person her wife in class, saying it was a term of endearment among girls. Now she was calling Eden her wife too. Is he your wife? What gives you the right? But my husband didn't like being touched. He would surely brush her hand away and give her a cold look, just like he used to do with me. As I was about to enjoy the sight of the girl's dejected face after being rejected, my husband smiled sweetly. Okay, he raised his glass and clinked it against hers. My husband never drinks alcohol glass after glass. He and the girl traded toasts. His cheeks flushed red, and his smile was as enchanting as a siren's. I couldn't take it anymore. I was about to explode. I followed my husband when he went to the restroom, grabbed him by the waist, and dragged him into a taxi home. After Julian confirmed I had been accepted to a university, he bought me an apartment nearby. I knew that once I was with my husband, the old man would kick me out, so I had started working part-time with him to get used to a life of self-reliance. After work, we would come to the apartment, curl up on the sofa to watch TV, cook, and complain about the weird people we met, then rush back just before the dorm curfew. I called this place home, our home. He was unusually quiet in the car, leaning against me without a word. I thought he was asleep. It was only when I carried him up and put him on the bed that I realized his eyes were wide open, staring at me. You did that on purpose. Even as dense as I am, I knew he was messing with me. I pounced on him and started tickling him. He was extremely ticklish. He writhed, trying to escape. My tickling hands gradually changed their purpose, stroking his slender waist and the rise and fall of his chest. I leaned close to his ear, my lips gently brushing his earlobe. You've fallen for me too, haven't you? I have a secret to tell you. The smell of alcohol on his breath toyed with my nerves. Without a second thought, I swallowed the secret he was about to reveal. I wanted this. I'd wanted it for a long time, but I was afraid that all his feelings for me were just gratitude because I'd paid off his debt. I wanted him to love me too. Inch by inch, I traced every contour of his skin. It wasn't until I unbuckled his belt that I saw his secret. I looked up and met his cool smile. If you think it's too weird, you don't have to. Did he think I would be disgusted? I had certainly never seen a person with two sets of reproductive organs. He thought this would be a reason for me not to love him. I held him tighter. You fool, I love you. I'll never leave you. And if I become a poor nobody one day, you can't leave me either. He didn't answer. He just wrapped his arm around the back of my neck and kissed me. I'll take that as a yes. Chapter 10. I wanted to confess to the old man. My sister stopped me. The old man just had heart bypass surgery. Let him recover a bit more. Besides that kid, Eden, you two need to spend more time getting to know each other. What's there to know? You have no idea how perfect we are for each other. I rubbed my hands together, my ears turning red as I remembered my husband beneath me. I wanted to go see him again. My sister rolled her eyes, not wanting to deal with me anymore. You good for nothing, have some self-control. Today was the old man's birthday. A lot of people had come to celebrate, so it really wasn't a good time to confess. I hid in a corner, afraid the old man would grab me and start asking questions. Whenever I came home, he'd ask if I had a girlfriend yet and what I was doing at school. I just mumbled about how hard my studies were, how tiring my part-time job was, but that I liked the atmosphere at school. The pressure of lying was immense. I wanted to hide. But the old man insisted on dragging me out, having someone call me over to introduce me to a girl by his side. Her name is Wenwen, Uncle Pan's daughter. She used to live with her mother in their hometown, but just got into a university here this year. You two are about the same age. You should have a lot to talk about. My mind raced. That Uncle Pan had been married 4 times, right? Which wife's daughter was this? His business hadn't been doing well these past few years. Was he using his ex-wife's child to latch onto a bigger tree? Shameless. He was so eager to marry into our family. I'd already met his other daughter. She was smoking, wearing makeup, and clubbing back in high school. She acted one way in front of the old man and another way in private. It was only after I showed the old man a video of her partying that he reluctantly gave up. That one didn't work, so now he's trying a more innocent-looking one. I already had a husband. I just nodded perfunctorily. The old man was already raising his dragon head cane. Take your little sister for a walk in the garden, or I'll break your legs. So crude. Pan Wen and I walked one after the other on the cobblestone path in the garden. She seemed unaccustomed to high heels and struggled even more on the path. I pointed ahead. If your feet hurt, you can go sit in the pavilion. Mr. Preston, what's your major? Her voice was as quiet as a mosquito's buzz, and her fingers kept picking at the rhinestones on her dress. She was probably forced into this by her dad, too. You don't have to make small talk with me. I already have someone I like. Let's just put on an act, and we can go back when the time is up. Pan Wen let out a sigh of relief and smiled as if she'd been granted amnesty. Chapter 11. After returning to school, I asked about the old man's health almost every day. He just thought my part-time job was a good thing, that I was finally learning how hard it is to earn money and was starting to appreciate my parents. I counted the days. I had to tell him before the holidays. I didn't want to leave my husband alone in the apartment, all by himself, so pitiful. While I was handing out flyers at the mall, a weight landed on my back. It was Pan Kyan. She had jumped on me, her arms wrapped around my neck, half her body weight pressing down on me. Long time no see. I heard you went on a blind date with my sister last week. What, you don't like me? You prefer her type? Why was she always so out of line? I angrily shrugged her off. As I looked up, I saw my husband standing just behind and to the side, watching us coldly. He hadn't looked at me with that expression in a long time. He must have heard her. I wanted to explain, but he immediately lowered his eyelids, his gaze dropping to the floor. When he looked up again, his amber eyes were calm and untroubled, showing no negative emotions. With a faint smile, he handed a flyer to the next person passing by. He didn't care, he didn't care, he didn't care at all. Shouldn't he grab me by the collar and demand to know who that girl was? What did she mean by a blind date? Was I messing around behind his back? Not this dead calm, like a stagnant pool of water. Out of spite, I didn't explain. I didn't even curl up on the sofa with him to watch TV like we usually did after work. I suppressed my agitation and waited for him to ask me, but he acted as if nothing was wrong. He curled up alone on the sofa, wrapped in a blanket, fiddling with the remote, and turned on the travel show he always followed. It was as if his life would proceed smoothly and regularly, with or without me. He didn't love me. Once that thought appeared, it was like a seed that took root and sprouted at an alarming rate. In just a few seconds, it grew into a dense thicket. It made me feel wronged. Why didn't you ask me who that girl at the mall was today? Why should I? Why? Because you love me, of course. Because seeing someone else being close to me should make you angry, jealous, and sad, just like me. But how could I be the one to say that? I grabbed my jacket and turned towards the door. You don't care about me at all. I slammed the door deliberately hard to express my anger. I walked slowly, dawdling my way downstairs, kicking stones in front of the building entrance. I thought to myself, I'm not a petty person. If my husband just comes down, I won't be angry anymore. I'll go home with him obediently. The elevator came down several times. Not one of them was my husband. I stood outside, looking up at the familiar, brightly lit window on the 15th floor. I lowered my standards. If he just looked out the window to check on me, I'd go home. But he didn't. If he had never scratched that sports car, would we have never gotten together? He wouldn't have taken a step towards me. Dejected, I started walking away. I followed the edge of the curb, walking on and on. I walked aimlessly for 3 or 4 miles and then squatted by the side of the road. Was I even in the right? The mall was so crowded. My husband has always been an introverted person. How could he have made a scene and argued with me in front of everyone? All this time, I was waiting for him to ask me, making no effort to explain. When we got home, not only did I not take the initiative to clear things up, but I also threw a tantrum and slammed the door. From any angle, it looked like I was lashing out in anger after being caught in the act. I slapped myself hard across the face. What the hell was I doing? I turned and ran back home at full speed. I had wanted to buy a small cake for my husband on the way back, but I'd left in such a hurry I didn't grab my phone. I'll make it up to him tomorrow. When I got to the door, I found it ajar. I had slammed it shut. Could it be that my husband came out looking for me? With a flicker of trepidation, I walked inside. The TV was still playing the show, and the blanket he had been wrapped in was still bunched up on the sofa. My husband was very neat. He always put things back where they belonged. After using a blanket, he would fold it neatly and put it aside. And he was especially frugal with electricity, always turning off the TV and air conditioning when he left. He didn't go out. I called out his name and checked each room. He wasn't there. He wasn't even saving me money on electricity anymore. My husband was really done with me. I frantically looked for my phone to contact him. The screen showed several missed calls from my sister. She had left me a message. The old man found out. He sent people to get Eden. The heart that had been in my throat dropped back into place. Thank God, it wasn't my husband leaving me. I was planning to tell the old man anyway. I touched the blanket my husband had left on the sofa. It was still warm. I quickly went downstairs, got in my car, and prepared to follow them. I could use this opportunity to make things clear with the old man, and I had to remember to apologize to my husband. Chapter 12. Heading west, the skyscrapers grew distant. This wasn't the way back to my house. I couldn't find him that rainy night, so I had put a GPS tracker in the new phone I gave him. Watching the scenery become more and more desolate, I called my sister. "What's the old man up to? Is he trying to play gangster? If he scares my husband, don't blame me for losing it." "Huh, the old man's men came up empty. I thought you had taken Eden and gone into hiding." It wasn't my dad. Even if my husband wanted to break up with me, he wouldn't just run off to the suburbs in the middle of the night without turning off the door and the TV. My sister seemed to be quicker on the uptake than me. "You follow them. Don't make any rash moves before I get there with my people." My hands trembled on the steering wheel as I asked myself, why did I storm out in a fit of anger? Following the tracker, I arrived at an abandoned factory in the western suburbs. My husband's phone was lying on the ground next to a parked van. There were drag marks on the overgrown ground. I looked at the light in the distance coming from the courtyard, opened my trunk, and took out the camping shovel we used for camping trips. Peering through a crack, I saw a cleared space inside the abandoned factory. In the middle of the space was a huge mattress, surrounded by cameras on tripods. In the center of the mattress, my husband was tied up, his hands and feet bound. His mouth was bruised, clearly from being hit. 8 or 9 men stood around, staring at him with malicious intent. Chadwick walked over to him and grabbed his chin. "You had to learn the hard way. I've never seen an intersex person before. No wonder that Preston kid treats you like a treasure. If you had just come to me earlier, I would have treated you like a treasure too, but it's too late now." He turned around. "Big Wang, don't ever say I'm not a good brother." "You can go first." My sister told me not to make any rash moves before she arrived. I also knew I had no chance of winning on my own, but the person lying there was my husband. A Preston man doesn't just stand by and watch his husband get hurt, even if it means death. I gripped the shovel tightly and kicked open the rusty gate in front of me. I didn't waste words. The first one I went for was Chadwick. The scene was chaotic, with blood flying everywhere, mine and others. I might die. But even if I died, I had to hold out until my sister arrived with her people. After I die, will my husband still remember me? I want him to remember my kindness for the rest of his life, but he's already been so alone. Maybe it's better if he forgets me and meets someone who will be good to him, who won't lose his temper and leave him all by himself. Someone needs to be with him. The gash on my head from the camera tripod was bleeding more and more, gradually blurring my vision. I couldn't stop myself from falling. I turned my head to look at my husband. "So beautiful, but don't cry. My sister will be here soon." Just before I completely lost consciousness, I thought I heard my sister's voice. My husband was saved. Chapter 13. I had 2 broken ribs, 17 stitches from my forehead to my eyebrow, and numerous other contusions and a few patched-up holes all over my body. "Where's my husband?" my dad snorted. "You wake up and the first thing you ask about is your husband. What else would I ask about?" I didn't expect any kind words from the old man, so I looked towards my brother and brother-in-law. Julian said gently, "He's in the next room. Don't worry." Why is he in a hospital room? I remembered him only having some scrapes. I grew anxious and struggled to get out of bed. Where is he hurt? "I need to go see him. He's 1 month pregnant. The shock caused some bleeding, so he needs to be under observation for a few days." I was so stunned I couldn't speak. My mind just went blank. I thought that part of him was just a little different. I never imagined it could actually be used to have a baby. What did my husband think? Would he accept this unexpected child? I was even more desperate to see him now. Julian couldn't refuse me, so he and my brother helped me to my husband's room. My sister was there talking to him about something. I could tell my husband wasn't happy, but the moment he turned and saw me, his face broke into a smile, not a polite, restrained, faint smile. It was radiant, bright, like a sunflower chasing the sun. "Please don't be mad at me. I know I was wrong." I apologized to him. I explained everything. I felt guilty for not using protection and causing his unexpected pregnancy. I love him, and I hope we can be together forever. For a very, very long time, I thought it would take him a long time to forgive me, but he just hooked my uninjured pinky finger with his. "Okay, pinky swear, cross my heart for 100 years. End of main story. Epilogue 1. Chadwick and his gang were sent to prison. Besides the kidnapping of my husband, many other cases were uncovered. Numerous victims came forward to testify. They didn't even need to provide evidence. Chadwick had a collection of videotapes of all his crimes at his own home. He had organized them by date, all neat and tidy. He even saved the police a lot of work. Due to the severity of the incidents and the large number of victims, the case caused a huge social outcry. Netizens were furious, and all of Chadwick's family businesses took a massive hit, with stores closing one after another. Of course, my brother and sister had a hand in pushing things along. We Prestons have always been fiercely protective of our own. As for my husband and me, of course, we had a wonderful wedding abroad. Mike was my husband's maid of honor. I'll never forget the look of utter disbelief on Mike's face when he saw my husband's baby bump. And I'll never forget my husband's resounding, "I do" at the altar. I will love and cherish him forever until the end of my days. Epilogue 2. Eden's POV as beautiful as a blossoming peach tree. Ha! He really knows how to flatter me. The Yao in my name, Tao Yao, was for Zhao Yao to die young. It was a curse from my mother at my birth. She didn't love me. To her, I was just a tool to climb the social ladder. But I turned out to be a defect, not a boy and not a girl, a disgusting thing. Her name was Ruby Fisher, a dancer. At 19, she latched onto a coal baron, the rich man of her dreams. The man promised that if she could give him a son, he would divorce his wife and marry her. Ruby gave it her all, desperate for her big break. The day I was born, a man died in the coal baron's mine. Rich people are superstitious. He hired a fortune teller to perform a ritual. The fortune teller asked if his woman on the outside had given birth that day. If he brought that child into his home, his life would go downhill until he was destitute. The man called, and sure enough, Ruby had given birth. When he asked for details, she stammered, unable to give a straight answer. The man drove to the hospital to see for himself. He found that Ruby had given birth to a freak, neither boy nor girl. No wonder the child would bring him bad luck. He threw a stack of cash at her and told her to take me and get lost. The farther the better. Ruby Fisher's dream of a wealthy life was shattered. She hated me, hated that I wasn't a proper boy. She dumped me with my grandparents in the countryside. A case of manslaughter was blamed entirely on a swaddled infant, and that was the end of it. So my name is Tao Yao. I might as well have died young. Why drag others down with me? Gossip was rife in the village. I knew my origins from a young age. Some kids even made up songs to mock me, calling me a little monster that no father or mother wanted. I would scream and cry, yelling that my mother loved me. Because I didn't have it, I craved it. I fought them with my small body, getting beaten up time and again, yet always getting back up. I didn't know what I was trying to defend for the Ruby Fisher I had never known, or what I was trying to defend for myself. A volunteer teacher took pity on me and shared half of his snacks. Under a large tree, he told me that knowledge changes destiny. If life was too painful, I should start studying hard and get out. A wider sky awaited. Not long after, he was transferred. I don't know where he went, probably to that wider sky he spoke of. I only remembered, knowledge changes destiny. One day I would see it too. I absorbed nutrients from barren soil. First in the town, first in the county, first in the city. I moved forward one step at a time, relying on collecting scrap, poverty subsidies, and my grandparents' meager savings. When I graduated from middle school, my grandparents wanted me to drop out and work in an electronics factory down south. After all, their neighbor Lee Jun was sending home $3,000 a month. I knelt on the ground and kowtowed to them. I said $3,000 is not a lot. When I get into university, I'll send back not just $3,000 but $30,000 a month. Let me go to school. Let me go to school. Let me go to school. Could I really send back $30,000? I didn't know. I was lying to them. I just wanted to go to school. After all, I was the spawn of Ruby Fisher and that man. What good could I be? I got into the best high school in the city. That year, I met Victor Cole. A ray of light suddenly shone into my 16 years of gray existence. Having never looked up at the sky, I thought he was the sun. We went to class together, studied together, ate together. He said I was his best friend. In the quiet of the night, I began to dream of the future. In my senior year, round after round of mock exams were enough to exhaust anyone, but I found my stride amidst a half-meter-high stack of materials. The 100-day countdown was my call to charge. Knowledge changes destiny. I would definitely be able to break the curse I was born with through my own efforts. Victor was a bit envious. You're amazing. My dad spent so much on tutoring to get me the grades I have now. Unlike you, you can get first place so easily. I spread the mock exam math paper in front of him, ready to explain the difficult problem he couldn't solve. Don't say that. You're amazing too. If we just hold on a little longer, maybe we can even get into the same university. I wanted to be with Victor forever. A strange smile appeared on Victor's face as he put the paper I had laid out into his backpack. Let's go to my house to study. Spacious, bright, and clean, a stark contrast to my grandparents' cramped and dingy house. I was always grateful, thankful that someone like Victor was willing to be my friend. I ate the fruit platter the maid had prepared. It was sweet. As long as I worked hard, I could also live this kind of life, have a house like this. But fate said I wasn't worthy. The police found me, saying a jade necklace worth $150,000 was missing from Victor's home, enough to bury me in the mud, never to rise again. I didn't steal it. But the necklace was found in a rarely used compartment of my backpack. In the principal's office, Victor's father chatted and laughed with the principal. Victor's mother paced in front of me in her 5-centimeter heels. They said a student with my character should be expelled. They asked when my parents would finally show up. My homeroom teacher served them tea, tentatively pleading, "The necklace has been found after all. Can't we just let it go?" I rushed forward and punched Victor hard. "Why did you frame me? I don't steal. I would never steal from Victor." I received a solid slap from Victor's father. "You steal and you dare to hit someone. You little punk, do you want me to kill you?" But when my grandparents came in, Victor's father fell silent. He recognized them. My grandparents were very old, so old that the sight of them both kneeling in the office was too much for even the principal to bear. I had so much potential to get into a top university. What should I do? Probably bend my spine, soften my knees, and kneel before Victor to admit my mistake. "Let me go to school. Let me go to school. Let me go to school." I shook his arm, begging him to take pity on me. Perhaps my cries were too heart-wrenching, piercing Victor's conscience. He said, "I think it was me. I might have accidentally put the necklace in his bag when I was putting my books away. I wasn't wrong. I just understood the situation. I hated Victor. Why did he do this to me?" As I was leaving that day, I saw his father slap him at the end of the hallway. After that day, both my and Victor's grades started to decline. I was branded a thief and pointed at by everyone. What about him? Why did his grades drop? A girl who suddenly appeared by his side answered my question. Back then, Ruby Fisher, pregnant, had verbally abused and harassed the man's wife. My mom was pregnant too back then, she just didn't know it. If it weren't for your mom, my mom's health wouldn't have been ruined by the miscarriage, and my little brother would have been born and standing here today, and Victor called that woman his aunt. These rich people had all the time and energy to trap their opponents. Ruby Fisher was no match for his mother, and I was no match for Victor. The initial approach was a carefully crafted trap. The butcher just had a moment of weakness before bringing down the knife. Should I hate him or be grateful? A light rain began to fall from the sky, as gloomy and uncertain as my life. If only Ruby Fisher had never given birth to me. With my homeroom teacher's hopes on me, I only managed to get into a very average university. I no longer had the courage to stay another year and fight against the malice coming from all directions. I would have died. I met Ryan Preston, a rich kid, tall, handsome, born with a silver spoon and rightfully loved. Even when he acted crazy at school, the teachers didn't dare say a word. Annoying, disgusting. Just because I was born in the mud, did that mean I was destined to be trampled on? I was resentful, yet helpless. I hated rich people, yet he was exceptionally attentive to me. But I knew the price of candy was too high for a poor person like me to pay. I looked at the world from a humble perspective, like a microbe struggling in a sea of suffering. I peeked at the light of this world, at the lives of Mike and his parents. That was the sugar I didn't have to pay for. I often wondered, if I had parents like that, a brother like that, what kind of life would I have? But there are no ifs in this world. A person born under a curse should be alone. Ryan said he didn't have a mother either. She passed away when he was very young, and no one really looked after him. Later, his brother married Julian. A sister-in-law is like a mother, especially since Julian was 18 years older, old enough to be his parent. He told me animatedly that I would definitely like Julian when I met him. Ridiculous. Why would I want to meet him? Until a strikingly handsome young man in a light brown suit sat down in front of me. "Hello, my name is Julian Sinclair. I'd like to talk to you." I was a little surprised. When I heard the name from Ryan, I had assumed it was a gentle and intellectual woman. No wonder he was so attentive to me. A family of perverts. Julian's smile was warm, but his words were like a sharp knife, dissecting my life from childhood, stripping me bare to the bone. He left me bleeding and raw. I looked at his well-fitting suit, the expensive watch on his wrist when he raised his hand, and his scrutinizing gaze. It was like being back on trial by Victor's family, curled up in a corner, telling myself I was just a poor person with no dignity. My stomach churned with acid. I felt nauseous. I don't mean to offend, but Ryan is the kind of kid who makes people worry. I hope he can find a partner with a suitable personality to spend his life with. That boy is also the type who won't turn back until he hits a wall. The more you advise him, the more rebellious he becomes, so I had to come and talk to you, Eden. I understood. Ryan was their treasure, and I was just a weed on the side of the road that could be trampled on at will. He thought I was used to this kind of situation. He took out a check for $1 million, telling me it was more than enough to cover my tuition. I could use it to do things I liked, so I wouldn't have to live in such hardship. I looked down at my faded clothes, the frayed backpack by my side. I was indeed in a tight spot, but I wouldn't steal Victor's family's necklace. And I wouldn't take Julian's check. You're the only one who thinks that fool you raised has any charm. Mr. Sinclair, you don't need to go to such trouble. From the very beginning, I have had zero interest in your precious Ryan. Your whole family is fucking disgusting. I hated Ryan even more. His existence was a constant reminder of my own insignificance. I knew he liked me, but I was born poor, had a withdrawn personality, and a hidden disability that no one could see. The only thing I had going for me was a pretty face that resembled Ruby Fisher's. I am not Ruby Fisher. I will not eat the forbidden fruit from the Garden of Eden, but fate would not let me go. One rainy night, I scratched a red sports car parked on the side of the road. I was riding my second-hand electric bike steadily when another electric bike from the right suddenly hit me, causing me to fall onto the sports car. I tried my best to control it, but I still left a deep scratch. The owner grabbed me by the collar, saying the scratch would cost at least $200,000, but someone had hit me. On a road with no cameras, I had no way to prove my case. Chadwick appeared, as if on cue. It seemed I would have to give up my dignity for my education again. I looked up at the sky and shouted, "It's not like I asked to be born. Go find that man and Ruby Fisher. Why are you so fixated on me?" No answer. Like every other time, no answer. I had to go to school. I had to make something of myself. It's just a worthless body. What's the big deal if someone plays with it? I've already knelt twice. When I went to find Chadwick, I saw him from a distance, arm in arm with the car owner from yesterday. Their familiar demeanor made me realize something was wrong. I gave a bitter smile. So it was another one of the rich people's little games. It was a carefully crafted trap that began when I stood by the photography exhibition, exploring the bizarre world outside my gray one. At that time, I was only thinking about whether my broken second-hand phone could take such beautiful pictures, completely oblivious to the greed flashing in Chadwick's eyes. Damn rich people. What gives them the right to toy with me? I had to make sure he didn't get what he wanted. I would show him that I was for sale, just not to him. After all, there was a simpleton in my dorm room who'd fall for any little trick. I asked that fool, "What do you want in exchange?" He said he just wanted to be my friend. How hypocritical. What's wrong with just saying the words, "I want to sponsor you"? I was going to wait until he said he wanted to sleep with me. I was determined to. What does it feel like to be loved? I don't know. My dad didn't want me. My mom wanted me dead. As for my grandparents who raised me, they didn't abandon me, but you couldn't say they loved me either. After all, they would even hide in the neighbor's house to eat the nutritional supplements relatives brought during the holidays. When I caught them, they would awkwardly hide the tea mug with black sesame paste residue behind their backs. What does black sesame paste taste like? I don't know, just like I don't know what it feels like to be loved wholeheartedly. I don't blame them. Poverty. I attributed Ryan's generosity to his casual indifference, a product of his wealthy life. No wonder Ruby Fisher was so desperate to live a rich life. It's pretty good. Ryan was the serpent, tempting me to eat the forbidden fruit of Eden. I enjoyed Ryan's constant pursuit, but he said we were just good friends. Unsatisfying. I don't know why, but I was very dissatisfied with Ryan's answer. I wanted to hear him say he loved me to death, that he couldn't live without me. At the class dinner, I deliberately sat far away from him, deliberately responding to the other girls' flirtations. I opened my eyes wide, hoping he would say he loved me, and I secretly anticipated his reaction when he saw my strange body: disgust, curiosity, or something else. Anyway, Tao Yao is a weed on the side of the road. Anyone can step on him. But he said, "You fool, I love you, I'll never leave you." Men say the sweetest things in bed. Is this how Ruby Fisher was coaxed? My parents don't want me. Who are you to say you'll never leave me? Forget it. Let's just have sex. Stop with the sweet talk. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it. On my way home alone, I ran into two people arguing in the community: Julian Sinclair and a woman who looked 7 parts like Ryan. From their conversation, I knew it was Ryan's sister, Harriet. Don't you know that Tao Yao is the deformed child of a dancer, and he stole from a classmate's house in high school? How can someone like that be with Ryan? Ryan likes him. That's because he's naive and can't tell good from bad. I've met that Tao Yao before. I offered him money and he refused, but then he secretly gets involved with Ryan. He clearly has other motives, ulterior motives. If that day ever comes, I'll clean up the mess for Ryan. You don't need to worry about it. No, I can't just watch Ryan get hurt. I'm going to talk to that Tao Yao and make him name his price. Rich people are so arrogant. I stepped out of the shadows. You two don't need to worry. There was a small accident a while ago, and Ryan helped me pay for it. We're in a patronage relationship right now. When he gets tired of this body of mine, I'll get lost. It would be as easy for you to crush me as it is to crush an ant. Don't worry, I wouldn't dare step out of line. I didn't look at their ashen faces as I walked back to that home, step by step. Ryan and I have no future. I knew that, leaving aside his family's attitude, this was a game that Ryan could call off at any time. Just like that man could throw a stack of cash at Ruby Fisher and tell her to get as far away as possible. At night, the faint light of the lamp clearly illuminated Ryan's sharp nose and handsome features. I lay on my side, watching him, unable to resist tracing his features with my finger. You're so lucky to have so many people who love you, but you have to be kind. When you don't like me anymore, don't yell at me, don't hit me, just tell me nicely. So that years from now, I can remember that I once met someone who liked me very much, and he took good care of me. Please. But that day came too soon. God really can't stand to see me have a good day. It hasn't even been that long. My insides were churning, but on the surface I pretended to be nonchalant. I told myself not to look too pathetic. The sound of Ryan slamming the door was deafening. Tears couldn't help but fall. Should I go and try to stop him? Or maybe learn some new moves to make him stay a little longer? Tao Yao, are you going to be like Ruby Fisher, kneeling before those rich people and selling yourself? I slapped myself hard across the face, the salty taste of blood filling my mouth. Don't you dare. An unfamiliar number called. I answered. She said, "It's your mom, Ruby Fisher." She was waiting for me in the underground garage and wanted me to come down. How was she here? I didn't have time to react. I quickly got up and ran downstairs. Under the dim lights of the garage, Ruby Fisher's figure was exceptionally thin, her hair a bit disheveled, like a ghost. I had only seen Ruby Fisher a few times in my life. In my vague memory, she was an extremely beautiful figure. Not like this. Why did she suddenly appear? Before I could investigate, a pair of large hands appeared from behind, dragging me into an old silver van, tying my hands and feet. Chadwick was smiling. He said, "I ran into your mom at school when she came looking for you. She's in debt and wants you to help her pay it off. I was free, so I treated your auntie to a meal. Auntie told me a lot of interesting things, like you're an intersex person." He ran his hand down my stomach. "Your mom sold you to me. I need to inspect the goods." He groped me freely. The moment his fingers pushed inside, he smiled with satisfaction. It's real. He sucked on his fingers and laughed out loud. Brothers, we're in for a treat today. That's right. Tao Yao's life was supposed to be this rotten. He nibbled on my ear. God knows how long I've been thinking about you. If I hadn't promised to let Big Wang go first this time, I would have taken you right now. Big Wang, the owner of that sports car. It wasn't that Chadwick hadn't tried to pursue me normally. I just didn't answer his calls or reply to his texts on WhatsApp. I rejected him with a cold attitude, but he wasn't Ryan. He wouldn't just wait silently by my side. There was no sound, just a scorching heat that was plain to see. I don't understand. Why, when surrounded by wolves, would I think of Ryan? Probably a bit of resentment. While Tao Yao was about to start a life like a dirty rag, Ryan still had a bright future. He would forget the promise he made me in bed to never leave me, fulfill his family's expectations, marry a gentle and virtuous wife, have a beautiful and cute child, and live a happy life. And it would have nothing to do with Tao Yao's life anymore. I didn't expect any turn of events until he burst in to save me. It was like a sealed-off valley suddenly burst open, and an endless wind came rushing in. You have to live. You have to live. You have to live. If I can, I'm willing to give everything for it. While Ryan was unconscious, I was also ordered to stay in bed. Besides Ryan's sister and brother-in-law, I also met his father and brother. No wonder they were family. They were all cut from the same cloth. I could even foresee what Ryan would look like at 30, at 60. But he probably wouldn't be as hypocritical as them. His son almost died because of me, yet he showed me great concern, promising me cars, houses, and money, constantly telling me that as long as I obediently gave him a grandchild, I could live a life of luxury without any effort. Julian also apologized to me. As a sign of his sincerity, he would transfer 3 of the company's shares to me as compensation. I looked up at him. He had a very gentle face, and his voice was pleasant, but his sincere apology couldn't hide his contempt for me. Everything about a person like me could be measured in money, but does a person like me not have the right to love Ryan sincerely? I forgot, even Ryan's family were annoying rich people. I didn't want to answer their boring questions. I just stared blankly at the ceiling, waiting for the moment I would see Ryan again. During this time, Harriet stayed with me. She didn't talk much. She would occasionally step out to make a few calls. The rest of the time, she would sit in the chair by the window, staring blankly outside. I stared at the ceiling. She stared out the window. Neither of us bothered the other. It was much more comfortable than the feigned concern. I couldn't help but ask, if I don't like Julian, will Ryan hate me? No, he'll probably just be secretly sad. She took out a pack of cigarettes and a lighter from her pocket. She was about to light a cigarette when she seemed to remember something, then put the pack and lighter back in her pocket, just fiddling with the unlit cigarette in her hand. She told me about Ryan's childhood. For example, being diagnosed with a mild learning disability at 5. For example, the loneliness and depression after his mother's death at 8. For example, his staunch defense of Julian when the old man strongly opposed him. For example, the laughable failure of trying to invest like his siblings and losing everything. For example, how a mildly disabled person managed to get into university through his own efforts. And for example, how he was willing to give up a life of luxury for me. Many people in this world are self-righteous, thinking that their well-thought-out decisions are the best for others. He has a mild learning disability. He's not a helpless fool. I think the choices he makes are the best for him. As for you, I only ask that you don't do anything to wrong him, that's all. So, he really is a little fool. I shouldn't have laughed at him. Footsteps approached from outside the door. I turned my head. My little fool was wrapped up like a little mummy. Husband, his voice trembled. Indeed, love is the greatest magic in the world. It can instantly dispel my selfishness, narrow-mindedness, prejudice, and all my darkness. Yes, my little fool, I love you too. Epilogue 3 Eden's POV 3 years of grassroots work, 3 years of middle management, and 3 years of beginning to grasp and master the company's core business. Compared to the naive and simple Ryan, I am better suited for the treacherous sea of business. My eyes hold an unquenchable ambition. Times have changed. When I had to go to Yun County for a project inspection, Ryan insisted on coming with me. Work, everything is more important than me. You don't love me at all. After our child was born, Ryan took on the responsibility of raising the little one, becoming a stay-at-home dad. He told me to go study, to work, to do whatever I liked. But when I really got busy, he regretted it, asking if I was going to make a lot of money and then abandon him and run away. He would hold our child and play the victim card. He wanted kisses, hugs, and for me to coax him. I've said it before, I like hearing him say he loves me, that he would die without me. You've never taken me back to your hometown, or to see your family. You just want to be able to dump me at any time. Or am I that embarrassing to be seen with? The 6'3" giant shrank on the sofa, hugging his knees, his head tilted, his eyes red and teary. In the 12 years we've been together, besides taking care of our child, he has spent all his time working out. His body is covered in bulging muscles. Although he's gotten older, he's even more attractive than when he was 18 or 19. Handsome. I pulled Ryan's fluffy head into my arms, my fingers running through his short, stiff hair. The hard bristles scratched my palm, making my heart itch even more. I'll take you, I coaxed. Yun County was my hometown. For so many years, besides the $30,000 I sent every month without fail and covering my grandparents' medical expenses, I haven't had much contact with those relatives. They had cursed me on the phone for being cold-hearted and ungrateful. My grandparents wanted to get more out of me. They started to apply moral pressure. But I was just a potential stock they had invested in. Hadn't we already agreed on the rate of return? After Victor framed me, I thought my grandparents' kneeling was for me. It turned out they recognized Victor's father. When that man was young, he was a real troublemaker. When he found out Ruby Fisher had bullied his sister, he brought a gang of thugs to our house to smash things up, threatening to burn the house down if Ruby Fisher ever bullied his sister again. Seeing this god of death again, they were terrified. After they got home, they vented all their anger on me, saying Ruby Fisher was trouble and I was a troublemaker too. They slapped me across the face repeatedly. It was my fault, I admit it. But for them to ask for more after I had kept my promise was their fault. I never mentioned this to Ryan. I didn't want to tell him that besides him, no one wanted me. Instead, it became his obsession. Before we left, he proudly showed off to our son. I'm going on a romantic getaway with your mom. After arriving in Yun County, he looked at the dozen bodyguards behind us and sulked. Why did you bring so many people? It's so uncomfortable. He then flexed his impressive biceps for me. Isn't it enough to have just me to protect you? He thought I had brought these people to protect me. I swatted his arm away. Keep working out. You're not strong enough. It was, after all, a grand homecoming. A continuous banquet was laid out at home, and many unknown relatives came to greet us. Ryan smiled like a fool. Your family is so warm and welcoming. You should have brought me here sooner. Oh, I turned to look at the big yellow dog squatting on the steps, waiting for chicken bones to be thrown its way. Slowly it merged with a small figure. The child's hair was messy, and their clothes were ill-fitting, probably someone's hand-me-downs. They held a chipped bowl larger than their face, just like that yellow dog, staring eagerly at the table, waiting for something to be thrown their way. If he had come sooner, he probably would have been squatting on the steps with me. Not sitting at the main table, I picked up a big chicken leg from the table and threw it to the waiting yellow dog. Eat up, little dog. When we were leaving, Ryan pointed to the village entrance. There's a person over there, babbling something. It's a bit sad. I followed his finger. Oh, it was a disheveled Ruby Fisher. Back then, Harriet had asked me how to deal with Ruby Fisher. She was in prison, screaming and shouting to see me, hoping I would plead with the Preston family, spend some money, and get her out. Is that possible? I asked Harriet. There's room for maneuver. Then I hope she receives the maximum sentence. Harriet didn't waste words. She made sure Ruby Fisher stayed in prison for 8 years. After she got out, she started messing around again, contracted a host of diseases, and her mind went. My grandparents called to ask me what to do. I said, let her live or die on her own. But Ryan didn't know any of this. And there was no need for him to know. I turned to look at him. At 30, he still had a pure smile, curiously observing the mountains, rivers, villages, and sheep flashing by the car window. I placed my hand in his. A comfortable warmth spread from my palm through my body, dispelling the gloom. As beautiful as a blossoming peach tree. It's wonderful. The end.